Jason Connery was a well-known actor in the 1980s before becoming a successful film director. Now as a patron of the Scottish Youth Film Foundation, he's joined forces with other industry figures to inspire creative talents living here in Scotland. He spoke to STV's entertainment reporter Laura Boyd about his work with the charity before reflecting on last year's death of his film legend father, Sir Sean.
So, Jason, why was it important to you to become a patron for the Scottish Youth Film Foundation?
You get to a stage in your life where you realise that it's really important to pay it forward. You know, to yes. say, you know, here's something that I learned on my journey, and hopefully that can be of use to you. I think that, you know, the Scottish Youth Film Foundation is something that I think has that possibility for kids to go, I can do that, and I can actually tell my stories, and they're relevant, and I think I'm good, and I think I'm good enough. But you see these kids, and they think, oh, it's you know, there's no way I could do that, and then they realize that actually they have video on their phone, which is actually quite high quality, and the editing abilities with Apple and various others, you know, it makes those things much more accessible.
There's TikTok and Instagram, and you know, there's a lot of talk about the detrimental side of these things, but actually it is opening up a whole, you know, new path.
When you sit with the kids and you start you know, coming up with ideas, and they start coming up with ideas, and they suddenly realize that actually it doesn't have to be a kind of huge conceptual film, and suddenly you see the ignite in their faces.
Is there something quite unique about kind of Scottish storytelling and the Scottish talent? There seems to be, you know, a real passion and a real kind of grit and drive to actually tell those stories, I think.
The whole sort of feeling was you had to get out of Scotland to actually be considered someone who is in the profession, and now I feel that they're trying to set a base so that you know, so that Scottish filmmakers you know, can feel as though it's okay to live in Scotland and to make films here and be considered, you know, international even from Scotland.
And it's in your blood, Jason. Did you always know that you wanted to get into film? Was that just a natural progression, or? It
was sort of osmotic, if that's a word. It was sort of like, I suppose, you know, the enthusiasm of my mum was an actress and my dad was an actor, obviously, and there were a lot of people in the business. And as I said, you know, the enthusiasm was catching, you know, and I remember when my parents would have a party and I was meant to be in bed, I would sit around the side of the door listening to them all telling their stories. I mean, nobody anecdotes like an actor or an actress. So there were lots of stories about daring do and what happened and who said what now. And I suppose in a way that was all influential for sure.
To touch on your dad, obviously, you know, terrible, sad, tragic loss last year. How have you been since then?
Well, it's a tough one. My sister passed away too last year, and actually a number of friends. So it was quite bizarre, and I found it's a very strange thing because, you know, to me, my father was my dad, and to many people, he was, you know, this big, you know, superstar and things. And so very often they'd like to share that story. And ironically, those stories, they don't really, I mean, they're very nice, and very often people want to pass on lovely sentiments about dad and things, and but that wasn't who I knew as much. So it was amazing, actually, the people who came forward, and there were so many people. I was here in Scotland, of course. There were so many people who had stories about how stuff that he'd done that he never spoke about or I didn't know about. I got letters and emails, and those were the things that were really moving to me. I found myself not really wanting to talk about him as a film star, and but when I received, as I say, condolences, and then with a small story, I just wanted to tell you, you know, I mean, I have to say, he went to school with at least 5 million people. He delivered milk to at least 5 million people, and you know, oh, I remember when he delivered milk at my, you know. all of that, which was lovely. But there were other stories, very intimate stories about things that he'd done, or when they played football together, or just silly things, and I found those incredibly moving.
I know there's talk of a memorial and possibly scattering his ashes on a golf course here in Scotland. Do you think that would be fitting?
I think it would be very fitting. It's just, I mean, originally we were talking about, it's his birthday on the 25th of August, and we were thinking about doing it, this year, but I don't think there's any way, it's all still too much up in the air, and, it's quite a, thing to organise. I mean,
would St Andrews be the most fitting? Was that his favourite, do you think?
Yeah, I think, he used to go up there and play in various tournaments, and his friend Michael Medwin, and he used to play in the Jubilee Vase and all these things, and he had great memories. And I mean, Glenn Eagles too, I have to say, he did the Pro Celebrity Golf up there for 10 years, which is fantastic memories of us. I don't know how this happened, but for some reason I always remember St Andrews being sunny, which I'm guarantee you it wasn't always sunny, but for some reason it always seemed to be sunny. And we had fantastic times up there, and at Turnberry and everything. But I think probably, with and also with Tom Morris, and doing Tommy's Honour, all about the Morris family, and Dad playing up there, and it does make sense. He was a member of the RNA and all that, so I think probably that might be the place.
And that's all from Scotland Tonight.